Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about the 2-3 zone defense and some of its weaknesses that you can fix with your team. So if you're running the 2-3 zone defense, this is definitely a video that's going to help your team win more games. So let's get down, let's check out the weaknesses of a 2-3 zone. Okay, so really quickly, in a 2-3 zone, basically, these two players up top are going to be guarding those areas, those zones. Players 4 and 3 are going to be guarding the corners, as well as player 5 is going to be essentially guarding the key. Now, one of the most easiest ways to beat a zone is to get the ball into the high post and then do a quick high to low post pass down to player 5, because what's going to happen is essentially these two players, they're going to be guarding the point. Because that's a gap, they're going to be essentially double teaming that player, which will raise player 3 and 4 up. This puts player 5 in a position to guard both player 4 and 5 at the exact same time. So if you can do a quick pass into player 4 that lifts player 5 up, and then player 4 can pass down to player 5 blue for a high to low post pass, which is a ridiculously easy way to beat a zone defense, and especially a 2-3 zone defense. So how I like to run the 2-3 with my teams is to have player 1 guard the point. Player 2 is going to be guarding the high post. This cuts off the ability for that high to low post pass. What this basically does is it forces the ball handler, the point man, to pass to the right or left side. Now, if you actually have some pretty quick or lengthy wing defenders, you can actually pick off these passes quite easily. So if this was a weak pass, player 4 should be able to get that and go all the way down to the other end. This one simple fix in that high post can really help your team win more games. But what happens if this ball does make it out to player 2? Player 2 red should be sprinting out to cover that wing. Player 4 should be shadowing it at that time, and player 1 should be covering that high post. This way, there is absolutely zero high post passes. If player 2 was to swing that ball back to player 1 red then covers, and player 2 covers that high post once again. See, what happens with zone offenses most of the time is that there really isn't much offensive off-ball movement. A lot of teams will just focus on passing that ball, trying to pass quickly so that they can open up the gaps to either attack with the ball or to pass to that high post so they can do that high to low post pass. Now, that's why I like to run a very quick passing offense, but with off-ball movement. So for example, player 1 passes to player 2, and player 1 would then go down to this corner. Because what happens here is now player 2 covers out here, player 1 covers that high post, and then player 2 can pass down to player 1, who then quickly attacks baseline, which then gives you that quick pass out to player 5 for that layup. Or if player 3 is quick enough to come down to cover and front face player 5, then we would want player 3 to move down to the corner, hammer pass out, and at that point this would be usually a 3-point shot. So even though that high post is a massive weak point, you can fix that by covering that high post. However, once they start moving off ball, you better be pulling out of that 2-3 and maybe switching to something else. So for example, you could actually have my unbeatable defense that is down in the description below, but basically what that gives you is single coverage up top and trapping the corners and doubling the low post. So if you're interested in a defense that can stop a lot of passing, definitely go check out the link down in the description below for the book called The Unbeatable Basketball Defense. Now myself, for an example, I love to have a 5-out offense where I can pass and then cut against a 2-3. Now you're probably thinking, why would you pass and cut? Well, there's a reason. If we can pass and cut quickly enough, then we can pass to the wing, player 1 cuts. if we can quickly pass to player 5, now we're putting the defense in a position to either allow the corner 3 by player 5 or have a quick pass down to player 1. This is now moving the defense like this, in which case now player 4 can cut back door, and this could be a wide open floater. Now, if that's not covered and player 3 cuts that off, player 3 is going to be lifting, player 4 is going to be moving out, and then we can kick that pass out to this side, or player 2 now cuts. And with player 2 cutting, this could be now collapsing that defense to kick it out. To defend something like this, your defense really has to cut off these cuts. So for example, if player 2 is trying to cut, player 1 here has to cut off that drive, cut off that cut. He needs to get in front of that man so that that man cannot cut to the basket. So now you have to instruct your zone defense to not allow off-ball movement. Get in front of that player who's cutting off ball, and that's going to stop a lot of that offense. So now with player 3 cutting, player 2 or player 3 needs to really pay attention. So if player 2 can cut him off so that he can't cut, then that was defended. If player 3 was allowed to cut and player 3 red cut him off, now player 4 needs to cut, and now that's an open layup. So while you have to teach your team to cut off ball movement across the key if they're in a zone, the offense can and will still exploit that if they read the defense correctly. I hope that this video has helped you. If it has, hit that like button. Make sure you go check out the Unbeatable Zone Defense book down in the description below, and I'll see you guys again next time.